Hi guys, welcome to the replay. If you're catching me live, type in the chat box. Let me know who you are, where you're watching from. And if you're catching me on replay, type in #replay. If you're catching me live, oh, there we go. Facebook has made our announcements live. Yay. Yay. I thought I would jump on really quick tonight and do a little project. I've got some boards that I'm prepping for going outside to do on my entryway, and I've got to wax them. And I thought, well, you know, we haven't talked about waxing in quite some time, so I'll come on and talk about waxing a little bit and answer some questions if we have any questions, and just kind of go over the basics a little bit and work on my boards. Yay. Alrighty, we're just going to give it a minute, let everybody get their notifications in. Hope you're having a great week. I know I've had a fabulous week. I'm enjoying the drier weather that we are having. We felt like we were swimming there for a while. Quite a few of us, I know. So I have some boards here that I picked up at a store, a local store. These are not Chalk Couture boards. These are raw, unfinished planks that are put in a diagonal, and I'm going to wax them up in preparation for chalking. So I'm just going to grab paper towel, go into my wax. Now I'm using Minwax Finishing Wax. It's important that what you use is actually finishing wax. There are a couple different kinds out there that work just fine. This one happens to be natural, so it's got a little bit of a tint, but I haven't noticed it changing any of my colors, so I'm pretty happy with it, and this is going to last me a really long time. You can pick up the Minwax Finishing Wax, that is the paste, and you can get this, I believe, at Lowe's. I think Lowe's is now the exclusive dealer for that. So I've just got some. I'm putting it on my paper towel, and I'm just going to apply it to my wood. This is raw wood, so it's going to soak it up. It is going to make it look darker, and I am perfectly fine with that. Now, there's a couple reasons that you want to wax your things. There's only, you know, some things you do wax, things you don't wax, but the reasons that you wax, there's two. You're either doing it so that your chalk can adhere to the surface easier, or to protect your transfers. Your design transfers are meant to be usable, you know, anywhere from 8 to 12 times, and if you take care of them, you can get more out of them, out of their life. But when you're using a design transfer on something like wood, like raw wood especially, if you don't have it waxed, you're really going to be chancing losing the use of your transfer. So it's important to do. Ooh, it's just soaking it right in. Love it. Yay. So there's some things that you don't want to wax, and you're not going to wax a surface that you're going to use ink on. Now, let's talk for a minute about ink, okay? I know that they have great colors of ink. There are, I believe, 25 colors of ink, but now we also have the shimmer in the chalk paste. So if you're not doing something that is able to be heat set for permanent application, there's no reason to actually use the ink. You can do the chalk paste. Ink is not something that you want to use on wax because you cannot heat set if you've got it on wax. The wax is going to melt. And if you don't heat set your ink, then your ink doesn't really dry. It's tacky and it might smear. So that's not ideal at all. And I've got a stack of goodies to actually show. So I thought I would get the wax on this board and then I will pull out the things and kind of go through what to wax, what not to wax. But I'm just applying this finishing wax paste right over the top of my board, giving it a generous amount. And you can do this with a rag. I'm just using a paper towel for ease and disposable. It's disposable. I do have a rag that I use for buffing. This is soaking in so well. I'm not sure how much buffing there's actually going to be. Not sure. This is just soaking the wax right up. Can you imagine if you didn't wax and you went ahead and you used a transfer on this? One, the fibers of the wood could actually attach to the transfer, and when you pick those up, it doesn't wash off the way that lint washes off the back of our transfers. So it really can affect the lifespan of your designs, but also the amount of chalk paste that you would be using on this project, because of how porous the wood is, it's just soaking everything up, and that is not necessary. And actually putting the wax on here is going to give us a little bit of a barrier, so we're not using quite as much product as well. Going to go over it one more time. Got every area covered, so I'm just going to add a little extra for good measure. Especially on these edges of the planks. Want to make sure that is very well covered. And I can see circles in the wax, so I know it's sitting on top of the wood now, which is really good. That's what we want to have happen. There we go. So that is all waxed up. Okay, so we talked about the two reasons. We want to protect our transfers, or we want to help the chalk actually stick to our boards and not actually, you know, when you put a layer of chalk down on your surface and you're picking up your transfer and it's pulling the chalk up with it, but you know that the chalk has not dried in the silk screen, that's a case where you may want to have a layer of wax. You also might want to put a layer of wax between your layers of chalking if you're having that same problem. It'll help protect it and keep the chalk from picking up the bottom layer. So there's some things that we don't want to wax, and the first one is we don't want to wax fabric, and so we also don't want to wax any of the canvas refills that we have, or the canvas banners, or the pillowcases that we have with Chalk Couture, because those are fabric. We're going to be using ink on them and heat setting them, so you don't need to wax it. You don't need to wax paper or cardstock. You don't need to wax metal. Any of your metal or galvanized tin items, you don't need to wax those. Same thing with glass. Not necessary to wax glass. It's actually not a good idea to wax glass. You don't need to wax any of the canvas boards or stretched canvas material. You don't need to wax those. And our gallery boards, like the Aiden boards that have the powder coated steel, you don't need to wax those. That is not a good idea for these particular boards. They have a beautiful surface. They are ready to be used, and you will get a lot of lifetime use out of this. I think they have a warranty of 50 years, so that is quite some time. So let me put my stack of goodies out of the way. If you have any questions, make sure that you type them in all caps. That makes it easier for me to actually differentiate between the questions and the comments. Thank you so much. All right, so we also have Chalk Couture boards, like our any of our boutique boards, our Aiden boards, not our Aiden boards, our Grayson boards, and our board and base, any of the 10-inch round, square, hexagon. We also have the pillar stand. Let me show the pillar stand. This is another style of Grayson. These are already coated and they do not need to be waxed. They are ready to use right out of the package. So that is a good thing to know. Now, things that you do want to wax with Chalk Couture is our pallet boards. These are, the pallet signs come in 2 different sizes, and they are actually meant to be waxed, and then they're also a one-time use kind of product. So you would put a layer of wax on this before you would put your actual design transfer on it. And the same thing with the box frames. Now the box frames are actually raw wood. It is stained, of course, on one side, and it is kind of chalk painted on the other side, so you can kind of see how that comes off on your hands. This is why you want to wax this first. That material is not good to get on your transfers, so you want to wax this before you're using it. And we have 3 different sizes of these box frames. And it's really, really easy to do. It's much easier than this because it's already been prepped for you. So it's going to go even faster than this. And if you don't want to invest in the Minwax finishing wax, you can always buy the Chalk Couture wax. It's in a little tube. It's perfect size. It's very inexpensive. Your little tube is going to do this project just fine, and I think they're like $2, so it's really an inexpensive way to go, and then you don't have to worry about having a place to store it. Now, there are chalkboards that are not Chalk Couture chalkboards, and you may not know exactly what they're made of. Are they chalkboard? Are they painted chalkboard? Is it acrylic paint? What kind of paint is it? How well is it done? So on this kind of thing, to be safe, you want to wax it. You also want to wax any of your wooden shapes like this, because that's again, any kind of wood you want to wax. And then there's also the chipboard. Now, there's chipboard that looks like chalkboard and it feels kind of like leather. I've never had a problem with this, but I have been advised that it's better to go ahead and wax this. Just to be on the safe side. Just run your wax over the top of it and you're ready to go. And then the other thing that I have that you don't wax that's really popular right now is enamel signs. This is a type of metal, so you don't need to wax metal, so your enamel signs are good to go without being waxed. I know that was a lot of information. Hopefully I didn't confuse anybody. And as I said, you can wax between layers. If you're using one of our chalkboards, one of the Chalk Couture chalkboards and you find that your design transfer is lifting up between layers, you can go ahead and wax that, those boutique boards. It's not going to hurt it when you're doing it between layers like that, but it's not necessary for you to wax it before using. And again, you're never going to wax glass or mirror or metal. You're never going to wax your fabric or your canvas boards. They just don't need it. Anything that's painted, if it's not sealed with like a paint that you would be able to use outside to keep it free from the weather, if it's not sealed like that, then you're going to want to go ahead and wax it if it's painted, even if it's acrylic paint. Definitely chalk paint. Yes, you definitely want to wax your chalk paint. That was a great question. Thank you. Anything that's porous or fibrous. Fantastic. Well, you're going to do your wax. You're going to put it on. You're going to let it soak in. You want it to soak in fairly well. You don't necessarily have to wait overnight, but you want to give it some time to soak in. I use 30 minutes as a good rule of thumb that I let it soak. And then I take a rag that I am not worried about in the least little bit because it is going to be just for waxing. And you go in and you're going to buff that out. You're going to see the wax moving on your surface. Now this one has not sat for 30 minutes. I'm just doing this as an example, but you're going to be very gently going over the top of it. I do it in a circular motion, just out of habit. I don't know that there's a better way to do it, whether you should go with the grain or whether a circular motion is the way, but that's the way I was taught to do it, so that's what I do. And you want to go over your entire thing, and then after you've gone over your entire project and buffed it out, you're ready to go. And you do your transfer just like you would any other time. You're going to fuzz it up really well. You're going to place it down. Make sure you don't have any air bubbles in your silk screen. Apply your paste. Remove the excess. Put it back in your jar. Peel up your transfer and reveal your design. You wash the transfer just the same as you would using it on any other surface. You just want to be careful in case it did pick up any fibers, because sometimes raw wood, even if you wax it, you still have the ability to pick up some of those fibers. So you just have to be careful with that. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining me tonight. I hope that this has been helpful to you, that you have learned something about what to wax and how to go about doing it with Chalk Couture. And I hope that if you have any questions, you'll go ahead and put those in all caps. I'll come back and keep looking for new questions. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and then go over and click the bell so that you know when I upload new videos, because I'd love to have you be a subscriber to my channel. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. That really helps. And of course, leave any comments, questions that you have in capital letters. I appreciate your comments. I try to read every single one. I get back to people as quickly as I can. Yes, thank you so much. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up, reminding you, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy crafting.